Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. I know you aren't seeing the usual screen, but a lot of you know that my daughter got married a week ago, my youngest. And so a lot of people have asked me to send pictures. So I thought I would just share it on Workshop Wednesday. So anyway, this is my youngest daughter, Megan, and her now husband, Austin. And so I just thought I'd share that with you quick while we're waiting for everybody to get in today. Glad to have a big group today. And I will get my screen set up. And hopefully everyone can see my screen. Anna, can you see it okay?
Looks good to me.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. All right. Well, while Anna's letting everybody in, we're going to go ahead and get started today. So welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Today we are going to talk about kiosk management and configuration. We're going to take a deeper dive into the intricacies of the kiosk and site configuration in FleetCommander. So we'll kind of guide you through the nuances of setting up and managing your kiosks. And we want to make sure that your fleet is operating at peak efficiency. So before we start our engines and begin here, just a few reminders. So Workshop Wednesday is Agile's monthly FleetCommander Knowledge Series. Our webinars are scheduled on the third Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time every month. And your feedback is always needed to identify topics for monthly webinars. Please tell us what you're interested in by scanning the QR code with your smartphone at the end of today's meeting. This webinar is also being recorded, and a copy of it will be sent to you in a day or two after the event. And your mic is going to be muted during the webinar, so we do want you to please use the chat box. So speaking of that chat box, please ask questions. We're here to help and make sure your team is even more successful than you already are with your fleet. If you have a question, most likely someone else has the question. So please ask, and I appreciate your participation. So you're going to click on the button to show the conversation and then type your question, and please tell us your first name and the name of your organization when you're asking questions. So our agenda today, we're going to go over kiosk hardware configurations, the basics of key control and kiosks, key control configuration settings, additional configurations. I also went to our support team and said, you know, what are common threads or common things that you're seeing being asked of you that customers have questions on? So they gave me some of those hot topics that are being asked by several clients. So I'm going to address those as well in case you're needing that same assistance. And so we've got some tips and tricks and operational benefits of the kiosk and key box and how you can save money. And then we'll just do a review of what we learned and remind you what all you have in your toolbox. So today, I do apologize. I'm probably going to be talking fairly quickly because I have a lot of slides to go over. But we will get through them all. And again, that's why it's so important to go ahead and raise your questions in the chat box if you have any as we go. So the kiosk hardware configurations. The kiosk only is the configuration that enables authorized fleet drivers to interact with a dedicated personal computer, such as the kiosk, to dispatch out or dispatch in a vehicle. And operationally, it also can optionally make reservations. So in this configuration, the keys are not secured in a hardware key cabinet. So some of our clients use this kiosk only instead of having the dispatcher dispatching the information in and out. They have the clients still use the kiosk to dispatch the vehicles in and out, but they still physically give them the keys. So what we're just trying to show is there are different options. Now, the most efficient is using the kiosk with the key control box, and that is what we have shown here. One important thing that is also so important is if you're adding a box and you have a kiosk, please make sure when you're mounting the box that the box is always to the left, because when you open that door up, you want to still be able to get to your screen. Oftentimes people at first want to put it on the right side, but it's so important to be on the left side. So just a little bit there. So this kiosk with key control enables the authorized fleet drivers to interact with the dedicated personal computer to dispatch out or dispatch in a vehicle and optionally make reservations. So, however, a calculated automatic key control box works in conjunction with the kiosk to securely distribute the keys at the start and end of a trip. Some people have their kiosk and key control boxes available 24/7, 365. Some people have them indoors. Some people have them outdoors. Some people have them only available certain hours of the day. So it is really up to you how you configure that, and we can help you make the best choice for your department. So let's get to the basics of key control and kiosks. With that, oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the wrong button there. So with that, there's a lot of different sections here. So the first section is you're going to select to check out a vehicle in this upper left-hand corner here. So you have the options to check out, check in, cancel reservation, log out. Depending on your particular fleet, this screen will be managed and look differently based on what you have available. For example, if you also allow folks to do grab and go reservations, you would also have a grab and go button for that. It can also be by user. So say a certain user does not have grab and go capability, then it would not show up for them. But say another employee has grab and go capability, when they sign on to the kiosk, it would show for them. So it's very customizable to make sure that you're getting the right person. Then you're going to have the folks put in their credentials. Those can be put in by either typing them in, or those can also be put in by using an RFID reader. Then the customer is going to have their reservation automatically come up, and it shows the reservation here in this example, 157213. And so they're going to go ahead and click that, and they're going to go ahead and click checkout. That then brings them to the next screen that tells them all about their vehicle, and they're going to go ahead and hit checkout. And then the key is going to start thinking, the communication is going to happen, and then it's going to direct your client to remove the key from a certain spot, and it will light that spot up. And there's also a countdown, and you can change that countdown as well. So there's a lot of different customizable things that you can do on these screens. And then you're going to see checkout complete. So when we talk about grab and go, sometimes people want to just be able to allow their customers to come in and get a reservation on the fly, or just grab a key and go per se. So what that does is, instead of having a typical reservation done ahead of time where that blue number would have come up, this allows you to see a selection of the vehicles that are available when you select grab and go. So then you can select the vehicle type. In this case, they chose the van. And you can enter the return date and time. It already knows the checkout date and time because it's live and you're taking it right now. And so it's asking you when you're going to return that vehicle. It then can ask you any other additional information. You hit continue. and you add the additional account number or checkout information that's required for your department. And then you, at that point, will go ahead and check out the vehicle. And boom, your checkout was successful, and the whole process only takes about 90 seconds. This is where, again, you really get efficiency at the highest is when you're using that kiosk and that key control box. And just to let you know too, so the kiosk, I sometimes have the problem where I call everything the kiosk, thinking the key cabinet is that as well. But the kiosk is literally supposed to be just the computer that's checking it out. And then the key control box or key box is where the physical keys are held. Just in case you hear that those words, or in case I trip up on those words at some point. So the key control configuration settings. So this is where the rubber meets the road, right? And we really want to dig into these key control settings. And so when you're going to go there, your key control settings are at the site level. So you're going to go to Configure, Site Settings, Edit Site, and go to the Kiosk tab. Now, several clients have also asked in Workshop Wednesdays if we could be doing it live and so forth on a live site. You can pull up your site right now and you can walk through this on your site. I would be careful and not make any changes until you really think through how you want the changes to be. But the slides just help us to be able to get the slides to you later and kind of talk about it. And there's no delay, you know, in the recording and so forth. So I do invite you, you can go ahead and sign on to your site right now, and you can be following through on going into this different areas. So you go to Configure, Site Settings, and then edit your site with the pencil and go to the Kiosk tab along the top. So as you can see, this is a closer up and it's the Kiosk tab. So what all information is on this Kiosk tab, and what do you as a fleet manager need to know about this tab? So the first few boxes, that kiosk ID through the SAM port, those first 5 are network information boxes. Don't change those without contacting support. So make sure you contact FC support or call us on our number extension 2 before you would ever change anything in these 5 spots. Another thing that I find very handy is to make like a screen print of some of these screens and then write my notes on it as well. Next is the checkout buffer. So the driver can check out a vehicle X number of minutes before the start of the reservation. Okay, so we had this in our fleet set for 15 minutes. In this particular example, it's set for 60 minutes. So it is saying right now with the 60 minutes, you could come pick up your vehicle 60 minutes prior to your start time of your reservation, or any time during the reservation. Okay, now what that means is if they come 65 minutes early, it's not going to let them in, and that can be a problem. Sometimes people will say, hey, it didn't let me in. Well, you can go back to the log and you can find out what time they were actually there. So adjusting this is important, but you also don't want it too long that you let people take up the vehicles, right? You want to be able to have those vehicles going in and out and in and out and maximizing the use of those vehicles. So next, do you want to display the policies from the kiosk home screen? If so, you would go ahead and check that box, and it would go ahead and allow you to have those policies display. So the after it, great question. So somebody just asked about if it will do any time after the reservation is up. It will not. So it will only let you pick up before with your buffer before or during your set reservation. So if someone comes in after, it is not going to allow them to check it out. So you would need to go in and change that time, the pickup and or return time. So great question. Thank you. So if you do choose that you want policies to show, policies will go ahead and you would mark that box. And then when they come to the kiosk screen, your policies are going to show. And there's a more in-depth of the policy after they push those policies. Okay, some of you have a printer and some do not. That is totally up to you. Some folks print a trip sheet. If so, this is where you set up your printer. If you have a printer, you're going to go ahead and check that. If you don't, that's okay. So this is the example of the trip sheet that some people have folks fill out. If it's a required form, great. If it's not required, I know some clients waste a lot of toner by having people print that out and then never taking it. So just make sure that you only have that turned on if you really want them to fill that out. But the more you can do everything electronic, the better off you are in saving paper and toner and everything else. So next is the keyboard. So you can use a virtual keyboard, which is on the kiosk screen, and you just touch the touch screen. Or you can use a physical keyboard if you want. If you want to enable that virtual keyboard, this is where you do that. Next line, and this is the example of the virtual keyboard. Next is for security, enable this and the system will auto log off after dispatch. So you don't want the client to have to go and log off on the computer. If you automatically check this box off as soon as they get the keys or as soon as they check out the reservation or check in the reservation, it will immediately log them off. So that would be where you would do that. And that's definitely a tip that you should do. Can you have the kiosk only set up in a trusted environment? And so you can go ahead and enable communication for that. And here it allows users to cancel future reservations at the kiosk menu or from the checkout. So this is just if you want to allow people to cancel a reservation at the main menu. Next, we have allow cancellation from checkout. So if somebody comes in and they all of a sudden decide they don't want it, can they cancel it from there? You can do that. I personally didn't have that set up because most people who canceled didn't show. I would find that people that want to cancel at the last minute and they're actually physically there are cherry picking vehicles and they want a certain vehicle. And since they didn't get the vehicle they wanted, they then were trying to change the reservation by canceling and making a new one. So that one I personally wouldn't do, but you can certainly do it if you want. And then you can also have a default usage type set for grab and go. So a lot of you have different reservation types. You might have daily, you might have seasonal, you might have yearly, and so forth. If somebody's doing a grab and go at your kiosk where they're just coming in without a reservation and making a reservation real quick, you probably only want that a daily reservation. So this is where you would set that default type for your kiosk for grab and go. And so with that, again, here's just an example of some of the different types, and you want to choose whichever one is the best type for your grab and go. And in this case, short-term rental is like their daily. So another tip is set this at no to mitigate forgotten standing reservation. So users with undispatched reservations can complete grab and go. So if a user has an undispatched reservation, you probably don't want them to do a grab and go because then they're going to have duplicate reservations. So with that, we might have to, you would have to adjust that, right? So you're better off choosing no, because you don't want to have duplicate reservations. So I only have 3 tabs in the kiosk control settings. How can I get more? Will you please send me your name and I can check with that on you. If you please put your name in the chat and I can follow up with you on that, okay? And what is the collect options under grab and go? Okay, so there are also certain options that people have that you can collect. So with that, we had certain options like a hitch and a topper and stuff like that. So if we had specialty vehicles that had a couple of different options that we wanted to collect, we could do that. But most people in their grab and go are just doing more basic vehicles versus specialty vehicles. All right, thank you, Marty. I appreciate that. And I will go through and make sure I respond back and follow up with you on that. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So enable grab and go so users can make reservations at the kiosk and dispatch keys. So you do want to be able to allow them to do that. Next is the grab and go screens. And the grab and go users can select a specific vehicle. So what this is saying, let's go back a slide. You have all of these available, right, in grab and go. Do you want the user to get to select which one they want, or do you want the user to only say a compact car? So that is what this would be. So here, if you want them to be able to choose which of those vehicles, you would choose yes instead of no. Okay. Then next, this is the button for you to submit your reservation that works. So this particular one, they have 2 separate reservations. So they would go ahead and they would select which reservation and then they would check it out. And let's go into this checkout configuration. So if a vehicle is not returned by the start of the next reservation, FleetCommander can assign a vehicle. This one is really important. This one I would go ahead and make sure you have checked. Reason being, so like for example, that 60-minute window where you were able to pick up a vehicle 60 minutes early. Well, if the previous person hasn't returned that vehicle yet, then your vehicle's not going to be there. So if for some reason your vehicle is not returned by the previous person, if you check this box, FleetCommander will automatically assign a new vehicle for you, for your customer. So otherwise it's going to say your vehicle's not here. So you want to go ahead and set that because that will help make sure that they have a vehicle. So it's going to come up like this. It's going to say, we're sorry, the vehicle assigned to your reservation is not available because somebody didn't bring it back on time. And it's going to say there are other vehicles available that match your reservation request. Would you like to check out a different vehicle? And they would hit check out a different vehicle. So this just saves a call to your staff, right? So it just allows them to be able to go ahead and still get a vehicle. These tabs here prevent checkout if the user license is expired, suspended, or validated. So if you are working with the driver's licenses and MVRs and so forth, and you are strict on making sure that if their license is expired or suspended, they cannot take out a vehicle, you need to go ahead and check these boxes because that will allow them not to be able to get those vehicles. There is next, there's so much information. So but I like going line by line. The next one is send out the confirmation email. So if you don't check this out, they're not going to get an email saying that it was picked up and checked out. If you check this box, you're going to get an email saying your reservation was checked out. So that's perfect. That's totally up to you if you want those emails going out or not. Sometimes people don't want as many emails, but this is where you would control that. And this is that part of the auto print travel sheet. So if you want a travel sheet to automatically print, You're going to check this box, plus you're going to have your printer set up that you did in those previous screens. Next is the check-in configuration. So in this section, you're going to go through the different things in check-in, what you want them to be able to put in for information and so forth. And this is really important here too. So a lot of people don't know this, and this is a huge time saver. Allow another user other than the driver to return the keys. Must be active in FleetCommander and know the key number. So what this is saying is if you check this box, we had this happen in the university setting a lot. A professor comes 3 times a week, needs 5 different vehicles to get all their kids to the field or on a field trip. One person might come and want to return all those keys to save time. Everybody might have driven them back to the lot, but then to save time, one person's going to check them in. This allows somebody else, as long as they're a user in the system, this allows another user to check in the vehicle. So say I checked out the vehicle and I took it on a field trip, but I'm running late. I know John is an approved user. I can give John the keys and let John check this back in for me. When they do check it in, they have to be active in FleetCommander and they have to know the key number. So the key number is what's on the little label on the key, and it corresponds to the appropriate lock on the key control box. So that one is huge to set up. It really is very helpful. This one is send a check-in email. These are if you want to collect parking spaces. You would just check whatever boxes you want to collect. This is if you want to collect and require mileage. If so, the mileage keypad will come up. Telematics odometer. How long after the last trip do you want to trust the odometer? So this is, the telematics. If you have it in the system and have it hooked up to read in, you can have the system look at that mileage up into 60 minutes. So you want no older than 60 minutes in mileage. Do you want to collect and or require fuel? The fuel levels, which are like quarter, half, 3/4, and full. So all of these require comments at check-in. And there on those comments, they can put windshield is broke or rattles at, 55 miles an hour and so forth. This is a great way to gather information to find out if something is needing attention in your vehicles, because oftentimes when people are prepping vehicles and cleaning them, they don't actually get to drive the vehicle, but maybe 5 miles an hour across the parking lot, right? So this is a really good way to gather information from your clients to make sure that the vehicles are still running. And you can give guidance to them on, what comments you might want them to do. So the comments come in, that's a great question. The comments come in to the dispatch email, whatever the main email is that you have set up, that everything comes to. You'll get an automatic email saying comments were left on the kiosk for this vehicle, this reservation. And if it's something you need to book to the shop right away, you can book it to the shop. So it's a super way to do that. Good question. Thank you for asking. And you can also have any additional information. You can also give guidance with what you want them to leave by filling in some guidance for the comments there. So that was a lot. That was a lot of screens there, but I like how we broke it down box by box. So does that box automatically pop up when vehicle is being checked in? Yes, if you want it to. If you require comments, yes. So if you don't require comments, then no. So great question. Okay, additional configurations. So this one is To ease the kiosk use and make the kiosk even faster, you can use RFID cards. Why I didn't use them sooner in my fleet is beyond me. Once I put it on, I'm like, why didn't I do that a long time ago? But basically your badge for work, you can go ahead and you can badge in. The kiosk signs you on right away, and then you can do what you need to do. So with that, clients can either go ahead and send in their information ahead of time to set up their badge, because the badge normally has a little 6-digit number maybe per se on it, and you put that under the vehicle profile. Otherwise, you can also set it up that they can self-register their cards at the kiosk when they come for the first time. So with that, you do need to go to Configure, Site Settings, Kiosk tab, and Advanced. So again, here's your directions in the lower left corner, and this is where you're going to be going, right? So the URL setting for the RFID is added to the bottom of the kiosk, Advanced Sub-Navigation. And then with that, there's different site settings for the kiosk here that you can set. With this, I wanted to go back there one. So with this, Chris, so it's a minimal cost, but we do sell them for you, but it's a minimal cost. And then we do ask, so Chris is asking if we provide the RFID reader, and also, so what we do is, if you want to use an RFID reader, go ahead and contact us. And what we do is we have you send us a couple of your cards, and we test the cards, and we have a form for you to fill out, asking some questions on those cards, because some people use SSO and so forth, some don't. So we will test those cards for you. And then we can also quote you an RFID price as well at that time if you want. But it is a big game changer as far as time savings. So on the screen here, what I want you to really look at here is another important one that I think is sometimes people aren't aware of. Enable checkout via confirmation number right here. So again, you're in your kiosk and you're in your advanced settings. What this does right here is similar to returning those keys, right? So with this, say I have a meeting that I'm supposed to go to and I have to call in sick. So John's going to take my meeting for me. I can tell John that, because I know he's a user of the system, that I already have a reservation, and this is my reservation number, and I can give him my 6-digit reservation number. Then John would come in, he would go to the kiosk, and he would sign in. It would say, there's not a reservation for you. Would you like to check out via confirmation number? He says yes, puts in the 6-digit confirmation number, and then it will pull up that reservation. So then you can also choose, depending on how you want to set it up, you can choose right here. It says change the driver when checking out via confirmation number. So you can then, if you check this box, it will then change that reservation to John's name when he checks it out. Or you can leave that unchecked and it will stay in my name, but it will still show on the audit log that John picked it up on my behalf. So you have two decisions that you can make there. But this is very helpful because you don't have to cancel another reservation for whoever's sick and doesn't want to, have to deal with that. If they're sick, that's probably the last thing they want to do is figure out how they need to go in and cancel and how the other person needs to go ahead and make a new reservation. Instead, you can use that same reservation as long as they're a user of the system. Just go ahead and give them the checkout confirmation number. bada bing, bada boom, you're done. And it's very helpful. And like I said, the audit log keeps track of everything. So it will show exactly that I made the reservation, but then it got changed to his name and so forth. Whoever, again, let's see. So I'm looking at the comments as I go here. So can you send me the info on the RFID reader? I'm assuming that's maybe Chris, but if you can put your names, because all it shows me is attendee. It does not show me your names. So if you can type your names, that would really help me out when you type those messages like that, just so I don't miss you. And if I do, for some reason, if you don't get what you're asking for, please reach out to me, because like I said, it's just showing me attendee. Okay, thank you. Oh, good. And Dave used that, and it does work very fast checkouts. Great. Thank you. I'm glad to know you used that, Marty, or Dave. And thank you, Marty. I was assuming. Okay, so it was Marty and not Chris. So glad I asked. Thank you. All right, going on. Hopefully you guys are all doing a good job following me, going back and forth. Hopefully I'm doing a good job for you. All right, so next we're going to talk about to update your key control settings. You're going to go to configure, and then you're going to go to site settings. You're going to edit your site, whichever site with the little pencil, you're going to hit edit, and then you're going to go to the kiosk tab. Okay. And with that, you will see what position the locks are. So in this case, this is sequence 1 through 20 of the 96 key control box here. With that, you also see the vehicle name, and you have the ability to add a key position if needed. So if you need to create a new cartridge, you can do that. That would be a little unusual, but it is possible. I'm not going to say much on that because I think that one's a little bit more on the confusing side. So associating a key with a vehicle. All right. So when you have these different keys and so forth, if you go into manage vehicles and then click on the pencil to edit the vehicle, then you're going to go ahead and the vehicle is going to come up. This is your vehicle profile that you've been used to and so forth. What you're going to do is, as you see, enable self-check. That needs to be checked for the ability for it to be checked out in the kiosk. And you're going to do this drop-down menu of cartridge ID, and you're going to pull in whichever cartridge, whichever slot, and whichever key box that key is in. Well, that went away quick, sorry. So you're going to choose the proper key slot, and then you're going to do enable self-check, and you will do save changes. Okay, so now we're going to take just a little bit of a breather here. And this is where I went and asked, what are some of the common support issues that we see coming in? So one of the most common ones is if you do not keep track of the serial number of the keys. So what little key goes into what lock in your key box? If you do not keep track of the serial number, we cannot order another key. And you would have to change out the whole lock and assembly. If for some reason you lose a key and you keep track of your serial numbers, then we can order you a replacement key, and it's a whole lot cheaper than getting a whole new lock assembly. So you want to make sure that the serial number is entered into the system. So you would like sequence 1 of this particular kiosk. You would take the serial number off the back of the little silver key that goes to section 1. And you want to make sure that you keep track of those. You would use the pencil icon to update everything. And you can put the serial numbers in here. And it will then show here. And you can also, what we recommend is enter it into Excel. So again, this is a closer up look. The serial numbers are on the back of those keys. So they're really tiny. But go ahead and do the key position and so forth, and make sure that you have the serial number of each key. If you need a key inventory template, we can send that to you. A lot of people have it in their shared folders, but not everybody. So yes, make an inventory before you lose the key. What about if one or more of the key slots gets or presently are damaged to the point where the slot is not usable? Who could we or do for the repair? Again, please put your name on there if you can, because I don't know who it is. I apologize. But Marty, okay. Marty, do you have the credit cards as well in your system? Yes. Okay. So with that, the older style, sometimes if the credit card was put in upside down, it jammed or broke off the little metal flapper in there. So with that, yes, they can be fixed. You can reach out to us so we can make it usable again. And depending on how many you have, and that's another thing, you know, using warranty is a really good idea to make sure that, you know, we can cover boxes and stuff if you have the warranty. But yes, if those are broke. So please email me. So on some of those, you can email me at that email so I know exactly who you are and what you need help with, okay? And we can help you through that. I myself know how to do it, and I did it, and so forth, but you do have to be careful when you do it yourself, but it's a pretty quick fix. So anyway, keep your backup keys handy. Some people lock them up. I don't recommend that you I mean, this is a nice setup, but you don't have to spend a fortune to lock them all up again. I had mine just in these black folders and had them in a locked file cabinet, but just know where the keys are. Make sure you have the numbers before you lose them, and it will be very helpful for you. So the next issue that they see a lot is if the vehicle is assigned to a previous reservation, it must have been dispatched in properly under the reservations tab for it to be able to be checked out for the next person. So when a vehicle comes back in, it needs to be dispatched with the date and time of the dispatch screen with the actual return time. So it needs to be logged back in or brought back in. And if it is not, then the next reservation will not be allowed to be checked out. So with that, that's one of the first things to look at. If it says reservation can't be checked out, go to your reservation before this one on this particular vehicle, go to your previous reservation and just make sure it's checked back in. And make sure too that the date is right. Like, don't check it in for a future date or something. Make sure that you have it checked in for when it actually came in. And does everybody know the difference between the clock and the R? So the clock here will do actual time date stamp that it is right now if you push the clock. And the R means whatever the reservation date and time was. So instead of filling it out by typing it out and so forth, you can either click R and it will automatically fill in whatever the end date was supposed to be, or the clock, and that is right now, and you can make any adjustments as needed. You also can see if the vehicle is not properly dispatched in, also on this screen, the reservation screen as well, sorry. So again, it shows that there's no actual return date or time. So that's a clue as to why you can't get the next reservation to check out, because the previous one wasn't checked back in. Okay, this one we actually went over previously. So I apologize, this one kind of got in there twice, but one way to alleviate this checkout issue is to enable auto assign if the vehicle is not available. So this is, again, the reservation didn't come back in time or wasn't checked in properly. The next person comes for that same vehicle and is still showing out. If you have this configuration set up that it can assign a different vehicle, then that will allow the customer to keep going and get a vehicle right away. Another checkout issue that can occur is if the vehicle is not being checked out within the checkout buffer time frame. So this is where some people come and say they came early or whatever, and they're like, there wasn't a vehicle for us. Well, if they came at 6 a.m., but the reservation wasn't until 9 a.m. and you had a 60-minute buffer, it's not going to show available till 8 a.m. So this is where those buffers come into play. So oftentimes if people come in, especially early in the morning, if they're trying to get an earlier start and they haven't adjusted their pickup date and time, that could be why it doesn't show. How to configure checkout buffer. So again, we kind of showed this earlier as well in those previous screens. So here the checkout buffer is 15 minutes, whereas in that other example we had 60 minutes. So it's really all about what it is that you want to go ahead and have that buffer be. I like somebody said they saved them in the document folder under the tools tab. That's a great idea. If you also have your Excel worksheet with all your serial numbers and so forth, you can send that to us and we will actually also file it in your client file. So if you need to call in to support and they need to help you or find out what the key number is, we would have it on file. So you can also send it in to us and we're happy to keep that for you. Okay, another checkout issue can also occur if the vehicle is checked out after the scheduled return date and time. So for example, if the scheduled return date and time is 11 and the user tries to check the vehicle out at 11:01, then it's not going to show available. So that's where we talked about the buffer before, but there's no buffer after. Okay. Next, we get a lot of calls and emails from customers who do not know why a certain vehicle is not available to assign to a reservation. So there's several different reasons why this could occur. And so I'm going to show you a couple different reasons as to how. So first, check the status of the vehicle. So go to your Manage Vehicles, type the asset in, and go to the asset name field. And you will check, and if it's showing unavailable, then it is not going to allow it to be put on a reservation. Now, sometimes people mark vehicles unavailable, say if they're going to the body shop or something. I would not do that. I highly recommend you make a maintenance reservation instead, because it's really easy to forget to go back in and check and make a vehicle available again. So just make sure, typically the only reason I would make a vehicle unavailable is if it clearly is at the end of its life and you sell it. Also make sure that the last available date hasn't been filled in. So again, maybe you're getting close to auction time and so forth, and you put a last available date out there for future. And then all of a sudden somebody's trying to make a reservation against it. but you didn't realize that you had this last available date in there. Or maybe somebody put a last available date in by accident, thinking they were putting in first available date. So that is another place where if for some reason it's not letting you assign a vehicle, check that last available date. Manual assignment. So the difference here in this is where the user profiles are, and if you want to set people up for manual assignment or auto assignment capabilities. So manual assignment is if the requester is trying to auto assign the vehicle, but the vehicle is only set up for manual assignment, then the vehicle will not be available. So if the requester is trying to auto assign, but they're only set up for manual assign, then so say you have someone that abuses vehicles. So you want them not in a new vehicle, but in an older vehicle. You can set them up for manual assign instead of auto assign. And then when those when they make a reservation, then theirs are going to automatically go to pending, and you're going to have somebody assign a vehicle to them. And that helps keep them in one of those other types. Auto assignment is if the requester is trying to manually assign the vehicle, but the vehicle is set up for only auto assign, then the vehicle will not be available. So just a couple other little kudos there. So if the vehicle is currently being used under a previous reservation, which we talked about, this is just another way to look at it, I guess. However, even if the vehicle has been brought back, but it's under a previous reservation and is available for use, but it has not been dispatched in properly, it will not be available for selection. So as you can see right now, this is showing as a late return and a late pickup. It's not going to let this late pickup pick up because it's thinking that this vehicle is not back. So this reservation has to be checked in for it unless you override it. So a dispatcher can override that and physically hand them the key and then go back to it. But again, the more quickly you check vehicles in and out, or the more automated you check vehicles in and out, the better off you are. Okay, end buffer. So there is an end buffer as well, but that end buffer is not for checking out. So it's not used as in the same terms as the beginning buffer. So the beginning buffer, when you could pick up the vehicle 15 minutes before your reservation or anytime during the reservation. What the end buffer means is slightly different. The end buffer is how many minutes between reservations. So if I have a 60-minute window and I have a vehicle going out or coming back at 1 o'clock, that vehicle is not going to be able to be assigned to a reservation until at least 2 o'clock. Because there's a 60-minute window there. That's your buffer. Some people set it for different times. You can set it for as long or as little as you want. When we had COVID happen, we were actually able, we changed that to 2 days. So the virus could die and so forth, besides cleaning the vehicles. But it was a good way to do it, another safety net. And then next to last here, usage type and access group. So just making sure that your driver has the proper access group and usage type. So if they couldn't get a 15-passenger van, is it maybe because they haven't had 15-passenger van training? So there are different usage types for drivers and access groups. Excuse me, my apologies. And then if you ever see this at the kiosk, this means the kiosk has gone offline. So you will see the page can't be displayed on the kiosk screen. That just means that it went offline. You might need to reboot it. Okay, so a couple more tips and tricks here. This is one of my favorite tips and tricks. I don't know if anybody has ever had this happen to them, but if you have a key control box and somebody leaves a lost and found item in their car, and it's a weekend. I had this happen all the time, and I was very customer service oriented. And before I had the key box, I would always drive down, even though I lived out of town. I'd get the keys out of the night drop. I'd find the right key for them, let them go get their wallet or whatever they left out of their box. And so, because I wanted them to come back, right? I wanted to give them great service. Well, with this, you can actually ping the key box from your cell phone if you want. All you got to do is be signed on to your Agile Fleet site and have admin rights. So say, I come in, I call you and I say, hey, I am so sorry. I accidentally locked my laptop in the trunk of the car and I really need it. Is there any way I can get it? And it's after hours. All you have to do is sign on to the kiosk screen here, and it's under kiosk, and you would choose what box that key was in. So you don't have to make a new reservation. You don't have to uncheck the reservation or undispatch the reservation. You don't have to do any of that. The reservation is just fine. You just need to go ahead and pick the proper lock, the proper key, and then you're going to hit access key, and then it's going to pop that door right open for them. And then they can go get what they need. They come back in, they call you, you refresh, and you pop it one more time. And that saves you a trip. You don't have to go down the hall. You don't have to do whatever. You can do it right from your cell phone. I've done it from when I was sitting in a plane before, and customers were like, wow, how'd you do that? That is a lifesaver, I'm telling you. And so also on this screen, another thing I have had happen that I've used this screen for is we also had like a desk nearby where people could set their purse and stuff. If somebody leaves a water bottle or their purse or whatever, and we're trying to figure out who it is, this screen also tells you the last 5 reservations departing, returning, and so forth. And anything light blue is a hyperlink. So you can click that reservation and you can pretty easily find what reservation was returned during that time frame when that item appeared in your lobby. So it's really good detective work that that's at your fingertips, that you can really figure out what's going on. It tells you what key, what reservation, and so forth. So that's another one. Greg talked about regarding end buffers. A great option would be to let admins set an end buffer for specific vehicles such as EVs to allow the vehicle to charge before it's used next. Greg TVA. Thank you, Greg. I like that. I'm going to enter that and I will report back on that. Only works if they plug it in. That's true. We're still dealing with humans, right? I love it. But I'm blessed to get to work with lots of good humans like all of you. So thank you. You guys make my day happy. This is just a reminder. So there's a client support portal. In that client support portal, there is reference material available. So all the manuals and everything are here. One thing I caution you on, though, is just make sure that the new revisions are a little bit further down on the page when you sign on. If you don't have access, let us know. FC support can get you access. Okay, we have like 2 minutes left, so I'm going to run through this really quick, but I just want to give you also some operational benefits of the kiosk and key box, right? So this here is just a story of what the kiosk and key box can do for you. So in this particular situation example that I'm showing from 2018 to 2023, the first year they had 1,532 reservations, this fleet. The next year, 1,685, 850 because we went down for COVID, blah, blah, blah. This is a cumulative reservation. So just counting this year plus this year equals this year. So that's all that this is telling you on this graph, okay? I want you to have kind of that idea in mind as I show you the next screen. So if you did cumulative staff savings with FleetCommander in this example, you can save if you're just having them make the reservations, but you still have a dispatcher handing out keys and so forth. So you're not using the key box, but you're still using Agile to have people make their own reservations and stuff instead of going and getting a piece of paper signed by their supervisor saying what they need, that they're approved. sending it into Fleet, having somebody in Fleet key it into the computer and so forth. This is based on the number of reservations. Yes, this will be sent out. The number of reservations at saving 15 minutes per reservation at $25 an hour. $25 an hour is very generous. We try and keep it conservative, but benefits cost anywhere from 46 to 53% of people's salaries, right? So $25 an hour is a pretty good example. So with this, just this portion alone in staff savings over these few years, you have 49,700. Now, if you bump that up and use key control, on average, you save 30 minutes per reservation because you don't have people coming in twice to get keys, like once on Friday and once on Sunday when they actually use the vehicle and so forth. So you can save at least 30 minutes overall time to your organization per reservation by having the key box as well. What the key box also does, in addition to that, is sharing vehicles allows you to have fewer vehicles, right? So for example, I went from 46 15 passenger vans to 31 because I was able to share those vehicles. One vehicle could make a reservation for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, you don't have to have all these extra vehicles. For every vehicle you cut, you save 25,000 in capital savings. That's generic. If you have a utility company, it's probably a lot higher than that. I'm just doing averages here. So 25,000 in capital savings by not having to have those extra vehicles sitting around. With that, you also save in operating expenses. So all the oil changes, all the insurance, all the renewals and so forth for your license plates. You add all that up, it's typically around $4,800 annually on savings, maintenance, and depreciation that you're saving per vehicle. So that's an additional operating expense that you're saving. So with that, if you add up all that savings, your staff savings is anywhere from 49.7 to 99.4 in this example that we used. Capital savings, 75,000. Operational savings, we did a 5-year depreciation. That's 72,000. Most of you probably do more of a 7 to 10-year depreciation, but I was trying to be conservative. Estimated savings, 196,700 to 246,400. That's a lot of bang for your buck. And that's what it's all about, you know, just making sure you're using smart decisions. So what did we learn today? We learned a lot. So kiosk hardware configurations, basics of key control, common tips and tricks. I apologize, I'm 2 minutes over. I apologize for that. So on this tools for your fleet toolbox, again, just remind you, we have lots of resources available. Workshop Wednesdays are also on our YouTube channel. FleetCommander user conference, Command 24, will be coming soon. We want to share your thoughts. You have a good story, I'm sure. Tell us your story. Let us tell your story. Anna, who's on the call with us, she does a great job writing white papers and so forth for you. And we need your story. Feel free to contact us. You can contact support at agilefleet.com or client success at cs@agilefleet.com. The best way to reach me is my kwellick at agilefleet.com. Here is the workshop. Please, if you can, take out your camera right now and do a screenshot of this right now. And if you can, please tell me how I'm doing. So let me know if this was helpful for you today. We really hope you can say with a 9 or a 10 that you would refer Agile Fleet to a friend or a colleague. You know, if it's anything less than that, I really want to know what can we do better, right? Because we want to make sure you're saving and doing what you need. Okay, so training slides. The slides are sent out as well as the link to the recording, and Anna will be sending those out in the next day or two. It takes a while for the video to curate. You're welcome. Thank you for that attendee. Conference information, it did not get shared yet. YouTube channel, Agile Fleet Incorporated, Agile Fleet Inc. Conference information, it should be out soon. I did ask for an update, but it was not available at this time yet, but I really hope soon. And then also there should be another sorry, lost my train of thought there. There should be another training coming out soon on the next upgrade. So some of the clients are in beta on 5.12. And so that should be coming out. And instead of doing those on Workshop Wednesdays and taking Workshop Wednesday time, we're going to do those as additional webinars for you. And I'm also going to be doing okay. So the QR code error shows already completed survey. Very interesting. So what I might do is I will have Anna send out the link for that. And if any of you can please fill that out, I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know how I did today and if it was helpful. We will send out a link instead of the QR code and see if that works. It is the same one every month, but hopefully we can get that working for you. Okay, Jim said the QR worked for him. So I don't know if you can clear your cache and maybe try it again. For who it didn't work for there, maybe. Okay, and then everybody that asked questions and so forth, I will go back through here. I will see if there's any more questions that I need to answer. I truly, truly appreciate your time today. I hope you guys got a little bit more out of this. I think we're up for some more heavy duty reports for next time. Okay, so the QR code worked for a couple others too. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yes, you're very welcome. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. It is spring now, and I hope everybody enjoys their rest of their week. And I truly appreciate you being on today. We had a great size group, and I hope we can continue to grow it. So I apologize, we're a few minutes over, but thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.